Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4. This is Police Update, and today we are talking with Sergeant Bill Moritz with the Palos Heights Police Department. Sergeant, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to start with a congratulations. You recently became sergeant,
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, June 1st I was promoted, and swearing in was June 2nd.
Right. Well, but you've been with the department for a while.
Yes, I hit 15 years on January 3rd this year.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations. It's exciting. And maybe we can even start there. You've been an officer for 15 years, so you've had the experience. You've been doing this for a while. How did you decide to go into law enforcement?
You know, it's something that I've always wanted to do. It's kind of a cliche answer, but, you know, in high school, I worked in a restaurant. I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to own a restaurant. But then everything, you know, going to college, I just kept leaning back to law enforcement. And it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. So, yeah.
It sounds like there's a little bit of a calling there.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, and then you found it. Well, that's wonderful and great for Palos Heights. So you're talking about the career path. Was there any inspiration specifically along the way that kind of moved in that direction?
You know, I talked to my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, do we have any law enforcement in the family? He's like, oh, I think a great-great-grandfather was a Chicago police officer. So it's not the typical, like, hey, Dad or uncle was a police officer.
Right, like the family.
So to answer that, no real inspiration. You know, I've always had positive contacts with law enforcement, and that's just something that I strive for to do. I try not to be negative, and I think it's worked out for me here. So,
yeah. Obviously, 15 years in and the promotion, I know we as residents appreciate that, to have that positive impact, right? How about and maybe this isn't a thing, I know it's fresh to you, is there a typical day to a sergeant? Like, what does your day look like?
There's never really a typical day with law enforcement, but, you know, we get in at, you know, either 6 a.m. or 6 p.m., depending on if you're working nights or days. We work 12-hour shifts. We usually have a roll call with our shift to make sure that we go over any, you know, calls that we should be looking for, anybody that we might be looking for, or trends in crimes. You know, there's been a lot of burglaries in the area for gaming machines. Luckily, we don't have any gaming machines in Palos Heights, but they use our, you know, Harlem Avenue to go through the town and stuff. So we just hit the bullet points with our patrol shift to make sure that we are hitting the streets hard and making sure that we're patrolling the area. And then as for that, that's what I'm doing. I'm here to lead the patrolmen here and help them out with any questions, anything guidance that they might need, and that's my day-to-day operation. So,
you know, I felt like you set me up for that really well, because my next question was, I'm gonna label you like you're a frontline leader, right? As a sergeant, you're in direct contact, and you're, you know, with the officers on the street as you're talking about. Now, stepping into that role as a sergeant, right? You've been at it for a few weeks now, but thinking about the career in that direction, are there certain goals you have for yourself as a sergeant, or how you would like to lead your men, or how you'd like to help them perform?
Yeah, I mean, I always want to make sure that I'm giving them as much guidance and training as much as possible. I just left the detective's office after 3 years, so being able to teach them the plethora of knowledge that I've had with that, whether that's, you know, crime scene technicians type stuff, so we respond to a crime scene that happened. I want to make sure that they know how to respond to that safely and where they're not destroying evidence. Or, you know, on traffic stops, I'm there to back them up. I'm one of them, but I'm also there to guide them as we go forward. So.
Yeah, it's a unique role. I mean, you are in the trenches with them.
For sure.
I mean, you're also their leader. All right, those are all the easy questions. You ready to get serious?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. How about when you were a little kid, when you were in grade school? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Like I mentioned before, I started working in a restaurant when I was 14 years old. I love to cook. I started as a dishwasher, but, you know, but I worked there all throughout high school as a pizza restaurant in Tinley Park. I work there all the time. I love making pizzas. I barbecue all the time. So, like, I really wanted to own a restaurant, but then I worked in the restaurant and I realized it's a lot of work and there's a lot of liability there. So.
But you still have that culinary drive.
Yeah, I do. I learned a lot. Like, I learned how to make the pizza dough, the pizza sauce, all that stuff. So I make pizzas at home, and you know, the kids and the wife benefit from that. So
nice.
So
I can picture a little little Sergeant Moritz with the, you know, the cooking, baking.
Yeah, right. That was the number one thing I wanted to do other than law enforcement. But then I worked in the restaurant for a little bit. I'm like, it's more of just a hobby, I think.
Yeah.
So
you found your calling.
Yep.
How about this? And you know, a very demanding job. I'm sure it can be very tough at times. how about when you need to recharge or maybe go on vacation? How do you do that? Or what do you do? Where do you go?
Funny you should say that. For Father's Day, we just went to a camping trip with the family and stuff in Wisconsin. So we were there for just 3 days, but it's still just to get away from the hustle and bustle. We, put the phones away. Kids were riding their bikes and playing at the park, and we got to, cook by the fire and stuff. So we love to go camping as a family.
Tent and
we do the tent.
Sleeping bags.
So sleeping bags. So they love it. And then golf. I love the golf. I'm not very good at it, but nobody really is. But,
I know the feeling. I love the sport.
Yeah, right.
If don't learn from me.
And then just hanging out with family. That's always a good recharge for everything. Yeah. So.
Those all sound like great ways to recharge. How about this? Let's say you're invited to go speak at one of our local high schools, and they want you to talk about career as an officer. What would you tell a high school audience thinking about career in law enforcement?
I would tell them, go to their local municipality and just say, can I talk to an officer, a newer officer, older officer, whatever it is. Everybody's very friendly. We want to help out. Numbers are kind of down right now whenever we test for law enforcement, so it's not a popular field right now. So, but the job is demanding, but there's a lot of rewards. We get to help everybody out. So, like, the first thing I would do, when you're in high school, a lot of programs. There's cadet programs. Palos Park has one. Palos Heights has a small cadet program. It's not as good as other departments, but maybe it's something that we can revamp here. But if you're interested, just go talk to somebody, and maybe you could do a ride along, and they can set you on a path on how to become a law enforcement officer.
I could see where that would be so valuable. Talk to an officer like yourself or
anybody. Everybody up front, they have knowledge of everything. They've done all the roles, patrol all the way up to chief and deputy chief, and then myself. Now I have another peg to put on the board where I started out as a patrol officer, and then worked my way up to officer in charge, which is off OIC for when sergeants are off the shift. So I would be in charge of the shift. And then I went to FTO. I trained other officers, and then detective, and now sergeant. So we're all here for, if you're interested,
You're speaking a whole range of skills.
Yeah, and it's fun. We have all of the necessary avenues that you could take, that you want to be as a law enforcement officer.
When we walked in, I started talking to a relatively new officer, and I know there are a few rookie officers on staff. So now let's step into that. Lean into your experience. What advice would you give one of your new officers, somebody who's been on the job maybe months or less than a year?
The biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask questions. You're not going to know everything right out of the academy. You're not going to know how to handle yourself. You're not going to know how to handle the streets, the traffic stops, an irate person for whatever reason. Just stop and ask questions, because that's what we're here for. And that's one of the best advice that I got as a newcomer, is because we don't want you to fake it and something happens to you, or you get injured, or something bad happens. So we're here to train you. We're here to have you ask questions. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah. That's my number one advice for new officers.
Sounds like critical. Like you said, to keep safe, to manage the situation, all those.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to pretend you've landed in the dream job.
Okay.
But if you didn't have this dream job, what would the other dream job? And I'm guessing it's not a restaurant or a chef anymore. Maybe. Go ahead.
Maybe if I wasn't responsible for the money and stuff, but no.
If we put you in the kitchen.
Yeah, maybe. I love doing that, but I don't know what my dream. I think this is my number one dream job, obviously, because I'm still here after 15 years and I love it. But it would be fun to just, I don't know, kick back and make some pizzas, I think. So. Fly an airplane, maybe that'd be cool, but that takes a lot of skills and stuff. So I don't have any of that, but I don't know. So.
I do. I just, when you said that though, I had an image of you like 20 years from now or post retirement.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe a little pizza.
Yeah. My wife's cousin, her husband just opened up a barbecue place in Louisville, Kentucky, and he owns a plumbing business, but he does that as a side business, his catering business, and I'm like, hey, maybe I could do that, but
that could work.
Yeah, so.
How about, all right, so thank you for that. I'd like to finish, though. We're in the summer now. A lot of kids are out riding a bike. I've already heard some fireworks, which I think are illegal in Illinois. But how about, can you give us some safety tips for the summer?
Yeah.
For the general, whether it's young people or parents or elderly in the community?
So the biggest thing is obviously the kids are out. So they're riding their bikes. The scooters are popular now. So you have to be aware of everything. So a lot of times they got headphones in. So just be aware while you're driving so you don't accidentally hit them. I think that's the number one priority is kid safety.
And traffic on the road,
For sure.
the warmer weather. Sure. Yeah.
And then another one is if everybody's taking vacations now, make sure that your houses are locked up, your cars are locked up, your house is well lit when you're gone. And then if you're gone for an extended period of time, you can contact the Palos Heights Police and put your house on a vacation watch. And we will check your house once a day and make sure that it's safe. So. And then obviously fireworks are illegal. We will take them if we see you lighting them off, and then we can write you a local ordinance citation. So we just want everybody to be safe this holiday season.
Right.
So.
And we have, fireworks shows coming up, and that's another way. I will endorse the safety checks. We've used that service before, tremendous peace of mind, and we were contacted, and it was a nothing. But just to know that
everybody's got cameras on their thing, so it's probably a peace of mind. 10 o'clock in the morning, an officer walks up, make sure that the house is safe, and then you go on with your day. So, yeah.
All good tips, good advice. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Sergeant, thank you very much. Congratulations. Wish you the best.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm Dave Worsley. If you watch a PHTV4 Police Update, we've been talking with Sergeant Bill Moritz. Thank you for watching, and be safe.